I think the perception of African cuisine in general is very misconstrued. A lot of people like to generalize African cuisine as this one thing. And I know for a fact that Ethiopian food and Nigerian food is as different from German food to French food. And once we begin to start understanding that globally, then we can start understanding specifically Nigerian cuisine. What is Nigerian cuisine? And for the most part, Nigerian cuisine and West African cuisine is very similar. We eat a lot of starches, we eat a lot of spices, but then we also have a lot of fermented food and a lot of sun-dried takes on food because that's our primary means of preservation. And we have to begin to realize that our food and our ingredients is who we are. My background in food, my mother and my grandmother are both chefs in Nigeria. Growing up, I was born into the kitchen. I thought it was just something that was a hobby. But after going through so many phases of my life, I realized this is actually something that I love. This is something that I would want to wake up to and do every morning. And this is something that I can probably do to make an influence. I started to go to culinary school in Napa Valley, California. And that was the beginning of the journey, I believe, for me. So after the culinary, I did little stage at the French Laundry, which is incredible. The way Thomas Keller, the way he looks at food, the way he thinks of food, is beautiful. It's very, very classical French, but there's a farm in front of the restaurant. There are other farms around Yonkville and Napa Valley that he uses for primarily his produce. And all of that really started making me think of the essence of community in cuisine. The restaurant should represent the community it's in. And at least in the way that I want to cook. And that got me thinking that, where did I start with food? I started in Nigeria, and every time I wanted to create something that is from my heart, I found myself going back to the eforiro, which is a spinach stew my grandma used to make, the gbegiri, the atadidin, sauces and starches and ingredients that I grew up with. That's where my heart went to. But in many ways, I didn't have a lot of those in the States, but I started, looking into using Nigerian food as a means to express myself in a creative, culinary way. And I decided to start thinking of how I can have a role in that eventual goal of having an impact in my community here in Nigeria. And February, I came back home. So we're actually embarking on a project called Onje. Onje means food in Yoruba. And the idea is to bring together collective minds and with design thinking, using that as a way to help the food system in Nigeria. So looking at product designers, looking at cooks, looking at packaging manufacturers, looking at just every aspect of the food system to help better the Nigerian food culture. Because if people are paying so much more attention to the produce and everything that surrounds it, then I can rely on more quality produce when I open my restaurant to use. The name of the restaurant is Itan. Itan means story in Yoruba. And the premise of it is to tell a story of Nigeria as a whole and the people in Nigeria, the traditions, the culture, through food, through a food experience. So it's a primarily tasting menu. So people come in and they're able to have dishes curated from different parts of Nigeria. And through that and through storytelling, we can give people just a sneak peek of what we are as a cuisine.